Welcome everyone, I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 21. Alright, so every few months I make this mistake where I decide to, you know what, I'm already awake, I can't get to sleep, let's do a match at the earliest time slot. And then I proceed to go on a 4-loss losing streak. One of which I didn't. I looked at the box. Sounds like you look very similar to the other 2 boxes I lost to, and I don't want to deal with you again. And just took the fail. Obviously, I can't D-rank because I'm in Gold 3, so it's not a big deal on that front. That being said, one of the matches I did lose to did have a Zion, and I now understand why Zion can be very threatening. I also kind of recognize I make some poor skill choices with some of my characters, to say the least. Some of it was also just dumb mistakes. And also just going up against groups that have anything that's designed to deal with magic damage. Since my box is majority magic damage, I obviously don't have very many answers for it. Really, any boxes that have like a lot of characters like Landius, Christian, Luna, though no one really plays Luna. And then there's what was that character? The one that Lightbringer becomes, that healer, Elma. They all have like auras that reduce magic damage, and you definitely feel it with characters like Bright Summoner, because Bright Summoner, majority of your shock value is from the summon, which of course does magic damage, and the way to get around things like that is usually you bring in troops that are physical, like archers and so forth, but Bright Summoner doesn't exactly have that option. So a number of matches were just situations where I tried to do the rush and it failed, and then I was like, I'm already behind and there's nothing I can really do about it. But I got to at least get killed by some characters I haven't seen too often, like Zion, and haven't really seen Bernhardt too much, but he went and wrecked me with his AoE heal negation, which I don't know why I let him have that. So yeah. Honestly, the heal negation would have been less painful if I was smarter with SPTRS. But yeah, that's needless to say, I kind of went through a bunch of matches that just did not go well. That being said, we got a match here where we see faces we haven't seen in a while. We got Karika, Namiya. Heck, I don't even usually see Isolde anymore. Sword and Light and Shadow. Heck, Apotheosis. Yeah, pretty good stuff here. Also, the biggest issue, like I always say, is almost every box I go up against has Dragon Slayer, and I have to ban him. Like, it's just not there's no question. Dragon Slayer really only has one weakness, and that weakness is part of his strength. So, where he gets to auto attack anyone that ends their turn near him, which is really bad unless you have the advantage. He's pretty much a raid boss. So, that unfortunately forces me to always usually have to constantly deal with Enya here, or end up dealing with Slarna. Which Slarna I haven't had too much issue with. Enya has been always an issue. I did get a match where I got to play with Enya, and I did. Unfortunately, it was against a box that had a lot of magic damage reduction, so even my copies weren't doing that much damage. So yeah, now that I've wasted several minutes rambling about my defeats, let's talk a little bit more about this box. Like I said, this one is only has one tank. Yeah, only one tank. Everything else, yeah, one tank and 2 healers. Yeah, one tank, 2 healers, technically. Technically, you can get some heals off of Eshian with her blessing. Slarna technically has 1 heal as well, but it has quite the cooldown. And then Bright Summoner, this one is a mage class. You're probably not using her for healing. So yeah, pretty straightforward. I of course banned Enya first because I didn't want to deal with that nonsense. Enya is also a pretty good counter against Bright Summoner, because even if I do get a kill with Bright Summoner, they can just copy my Bright Summoner and then use it against me. They banned my Enya, and they grab Eshian, which is a little odd first pick. So I was like, okay, I'll get rid of Isolde, because Act Again with Isolde could be pretty devastating. Get rid of Slarna for obvious reasons. And I grab my Slarna. Alright, so they ban my Act Agains at this point, so they grab Karika. So yeah, Karika could be pretty dangerous here. There is an inscription talent for her now, where I believe she can Act Again off her teleport. which is pretty powerful. Also, once she gets her stack, she just has insane amount of range. I go ahead and get rid of the Sovereign of the Ice Abyss. Go ahead and get rid of Liana. I am a little bit concerned about Selika because she's been actually wrecking my shit lately. But I definitely just don't want to give any more Actigans than necessary, because Karika could just sit back and just spam AoE physical damage at me, or just snipe me. I go ahead and grab my Bright Summoner, because I keep sticking to the old plans. And they ban my tanks. So I was like, alright, cool, I have no tanks. They grabbed the Awakened one. So I was like, alright, I don't want to deal with any potential teleport rush things, and then follow up with like Sword and Light and Shadow. Apotheosis is also pretty durable and can cover ground and do a lot of nasty debuffs. So I was like, alright, get rid of both of them. And joke's on you, I do have a tank. It's going to be, what is her name? Randall. We're going to use Randall here and see if we can actually make the tank work. So they go ahead and get rid of my SPTRs at this point, get rid of Ilya, which surprisingly this is like, what, 4th ban? So I'm actually surprised that Ilya lasted that long. They grabbed their Bright Summoner at this point. So I was like, okay, cool. They can either have a tank, a healer. They got Werner over there, and they've got Nemia. Nemia, of course, can cover a lot of ground, though in this particular map, it's actually not too bad. There's cliffs that actually make rushing the middle a lot more difficult. So I go ahead, but I still go ahead and get rid of Nemia, get rid of Selika for, like I mentioned, she's just been kind of wrecking my shit in all the previous matches. And at this point, I was like, alright, so they can either have Werner, which I don't really care about, and Lightbringer, which more likely will be a hindrance, but I do have a lot of ways to guard bypass. Speaking of, I go ahead and grab Hibiscus. Oh, I did forget to mention, Randall is actually 6 stars at this point. I noticed I had one of those bags that have, like, lets you get shards of a character up to a certain point. And out of the female characters that I didn't have maxed out for that bag, it was Hibiscus and Randall. I don't remember how I got that bag, but I went ahead and used it on Randall, and I wish I had known about it sooner, because I was kind of grinding Gate of Fates with her. So I got more shards than I needed, but she's now 6 stars. Hibiscus will be she will be 6 stars in probably not the upcoming week, but maybe the following week, because I think I need 10 days for her. Alright, so yeah, but I go ahead and grab Hibiscus here. She does have the ability to guard bypass through various means. And at this point, they go ahead and get rid of my Sovereign of the Ice Abyss, get rid of my Awakened one, and they grab Lightbringer. So at this point, I can either take Silvaria, or I can take Risen Seal. I'm a little concerned about Karika just spamming mass AoEs from a distance, so I'm going to have to pick a healer. As much as I would love to mess around with Silvaria, that's just not in the cards right now. So grab Risen Seal. We do have faction buffs for everyone but Risen Seal at this point. Alright, so just when you have the same characters, you can always compare. This one does not have boots. It's also using Fighting Monk, so it doesn't even have all-terrain, which is okay. Like I mentioned before, there are cliffs in the middle here, and these actually prevent all-terrain. Only flight can get over them. So yeah, their Bright Summoner has more HP, but much less defense, and much less intelligence. Wow, this thing has like a higher attack bonus. Alright. In any case, this Bright Summoner here is using Fighting Monks with both summons and mass heal. Got Karika here with Firebrand Snipers. She actually did not go AoE. She has her Teleport, Snipe, and Snare, which is weird. That means she doesn't have her 3C. I don't know. I think she's maxed out, but I don't know. That's actually something we can check. Yeah, so at least that Bright Summoner is 6 stars. The Awakened one here, yeah, definitely 6 stars. Has Teleport, Dimensional Shift, and 3C with Dark Elf Snipers. SP Dark Elf Snipers. Which, for those who don't know, are pretty good. They can reduce defense and all that good stuff. Lightbringer here brought Holy Guard Mages, has 3C, Strengthen, and Discipline. What's the Strengthen for? I don't know what the Strengthen is for, because everyone here can be buffed. Awaken 1 buffs herself and Karika. Bright Summoner buffs herself and technically Lightbringer and Eshian, I believe, because Eshian, I think, is Glory. Eshian could also buff herself with just her various stratagem things, whatever you wish to call them. Yeah, Unified Defense. Alright, well, in any case, Awaken 1, so yeah, that was Lightbringer, so it has Discipline. Eshian here has Angels, which does make sense. Has 3C, yeah, all of our exclusives with 3C. Alright, over here, Bright Summoner, the usual kit, double summons with Holy Dragon Breath, Fairy Spirit Prophets. I remember to swap the troops this time. Slarna here, I brought SP Demon, Spider Demon Elves, I brought her 3C Brand and Dream Aegis. Randell here has Crystal Warlocks because she's going to be trying to tank. And I brought her 3C Scroll of the Box, which is the one that lets her guard against magic damage. And then Dark Realm Walker is the one that teleports a character within 2 blocks of herself, and she will guard anything from that target, as well as get 80% reduction on the next attack. So this is kind of her primary tank skill. Hibiscus here, I brought Lone Wing Arrows, 3C Eye of the Wind, and this time I brought Calamity. Calamity does let you ignore guard, which would go really well with the passive from Soul Hunt. So now I have multiple ways of actually bypassing guard, because I think Soul Hunt only bypasses guard against... It's not even... I thought this bypass guard. Straight line when eliminating enemies. Oh no, that's right. It's the it's our talent that makes it ignore guard. So with Calamity, I can at least bypass guard without having to rely on Soul Sight. All right, over here we got Rose and Seal here with all heals and Shrine Maidens. All right, so let's go ahead and get going. So my opponent surprisingly opens with a tank with the guard skill. Usually, if you have this set up here, you would probably try to use Awaken 1 just to go ahead and get out some, spellbounds just to kind of hinder me in the beginning, but my opponent didn't do that. So with that knowledge, I decided to go ahead and just open with Miracle just so I can get those stacks up. Unfortunately, in the process, I only moved 2 steps. I should have moved 3 to get more stacks on Randell. So I do Dark Realm Walker, which gets me 2 stacks of my thing. The Karika, by the way, just passed turn in place. Ended up getting 6 of her stack. So now her unit range is increased by 6. Is it every point? Yep. Into range. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't really click on her to see how far she can go. The issue, of course, is it's only on her skill checks. So assuming she doesn't have the range bow, her range right now is 8. So technically, she can go to here and go 1, 2. Well, actually, I can just look at this. Yeah, I can shoot all the way up to here between Randell and Bright Summoner. So I go ahead and use Randell here. Unfortunately, due to the cliffs and all that, it's actually really hard for Bright Summoner to get in range. Her summon, I couldn't. Also, at this point, I couldn't remember if her summon could fly or not, or if it was just all terrain. In any case, this will at least make it so I can guard her at least once. Now, something to note, which I didn't really know about as far as her Dark Realm Walker, it does allow her to guard both physical and magic, but only for that target. And that 3 range guard is only for the target that she picked. So everyone else is actually still completely exposed to physical attacks. It's just Bright Summoner. All right. Also, unfortunately, I'm going to be cycling through my buff pretty quickly because I am going to trigger an act again here. I have 5 of these things, so I go ahead and put boxes on everybody just to see what sort of debuffs I can throw out. Get my extra action. For the most part, nothing too special. We did get the magic defense down, though, which will be very useful. Alright. I go ahead and use the scroll in the box on myself. All that does is expand my magic guard range. And it also makes it, if I'm ever forced into battle, I can counterattack any ranged attack no matter the range. Alright, so teleport. Gonna get hit with Spellbound. She doesn't have the debuff staff, so it just only removes one stack. They get faction buffed. So yeah, this Kurika can get, this S21, sorry, can get all the way up to here. Nothing too special. So at this point, I have 3 guard range on Randell there, so I go ahead and move to max range. Do 3C summon, and I'll go straight for their summoner. So this is against magic defense down 30%, and needless to say, I do plenty of damage. So, got the initiative there. My opponent moves up to attack. So I have 80% magic damage reduction. I do have, apparently, first strike? I don't think I have first strike, I just think I just attacked faster. Oh, one thing to note is while I have the Dark Realm Walker active, I also ignore melee damage penalties, so she attacks as effectively as if she was at range. And yeah, didn't kill. And I heavily damaged this S21. Since S21 didn't get killed, it won't trigger the 3C effect to back away. And so yeah, this S21 is just left exposed. Also decided to do Revitalization, which is a bad idea. Because this now means she... So Revitalization does use up her Radiance. And if she has 0 Radiance, she doesn't have a self-res. So now she has no self-res. Yeah, for those who don't know, the heal uses up Radiance, the buff adds a Radiance, and then the Act Again does neither. So yeah, good stuff there. I mean, I'm checking one thing, though. You did use your 3C, right? Like, you didn't just try to raw attack. Yeah, that was 3C. Yep. But yeah, 80% reduction, even against a squishy caster type, is enough to soak all that. So yeah. So we have an exposed S21, and I conveniently have a 4-range attack with Hibiscus here, so I'm just going to shoot her down. This is massive overkill, but it's the only thing I can get, only attack I can get in range. Alright, so taking out 2 of their units. I'm going to start putting Gaze on the frontline tank, mainly because there's just no other option. I do Dream Magus. This is mostly just to heal Randell to full. It does also reset her cooldowns. Alright, I triggered my Reflect and Crystallization. Oh my god, okay, so I attacked first, which nearly killed her, but then she shot back, and I had the I had crystal mages, which do reflect physical damage, and then I of course procced my accessory, which also reflected more damage. And yeah, she just ended up killing herself. It almost killed Randell. Even though I was able to guard against physical for Bright Summoner, I didn't have that bubble anymore, so I wasn't reducing it by 80%. But as you can tell, at this point they have only Awakened one, who does still have 3C and all that good stuff. In fact, 3C probably would have been... Actually, she can't even reach. Yeah, if Awakened one hadn't backed away and maybe tried to stay a little bit closer, a thing that Awakened one could have obviously done is done 3C on Bright Summoner, because she's just completely exposed. She would have got hit with all the meteors. I don't know if that would get kill or not, but it still would be well, helpful. So my opponent gives up at this point, and I don't blame them. After all the losing streak I had, I was kind of just glad that we kind of got through this and got my win. All right. So next week I am going to be out of town through the majority of the weekend. I do fly back in on Sunday, so I may be able to get a match in, but if I don't, I don't. I believe the last year when I went out of town, I managed to get a match in, like, literally on my phone, but I usually don't like playing Apex on my phone, so I'm not going to make any promises there. In any case, Data-wise, oh, I guess, yeah. So thanks to the losing streak, I'm back down to 50% win rate, which is still pretty good. I mean, the fact I've been going up against the meta so much, it's surprising it's not lower, but I'm pretty sure it'll get much lower soon, so we'll see. In any case, so one thing to note is I had 18 battles. Bright Summoner was banned 3 times, and I've done 14 battles with her. So the one match where I didn't actually do anything, I literally just gave up before the first ban pick. That data is just shown as, you didn't get anything done. Anyway, so the biggest, I guess, there's a number of issues. One thing to note is any characters that do any sort of sword soul effect where they dispel 5 buffs and then wreck your shit, Christian doesn't really do very well against them. Quite frankly, majority of my female tanks just don't do very well against those types of effects. Obviously, Christiane is more specialized on dealing with magic attacks rather than physical. And there's not really much she can do about that. She has maybe one other passive. Well, she has 2 passives that she could potentially use to try to reduce physical damage. One of them is Attack Break, and the other one is the Aura that just flat out increases defense. But I'm pretty sure those are not going to make a big difference against the issues I'm running into. I mean, the biggest issue is I tend to end up banning Ilya a lot because I'm always concerned about her massive amounts of range that she'll just keep blasting me with 3C over and over again until I die. I probably should be a little bit more willing to just try to use Christiane against that and see if I can just survive it. But that also means I have to pick a tank sooner. In order to adjust for that. So I don't know. The other issue is a lot of the mage characters that you would probably use Christiane for, and you maybe try to use something like Angels to counteract it or Royal Protectors. Every offensive mage character generally has access to archers as their troop choice, and every single one of them would take archers in that situation. So it could be pretty rough on that front. Not much else to say. I did use Eshian in one battle, and I mostly just was trying to take advantage of Actigins with Enya. But like I mentioned, it was that match where they had a lot of magic damage reduction. There's just not much I could do about that. I do have a few physical attackers now in the box, so maybe I should be more willing to take those first. I do like taking Slarna regardless. I think her as a first pick I think is pretty solid. The Ilya is very good, but I'll never be able to get her. Any battles where I'm allowed to use her, most likely my opponent has some sort of advantage. That or my opponent is just inexperienced and therefore just let me have Ilya for no reason. A tank I should probably try to use more often is Lightbringer. Since I always ban Dragon Slayer, I don't really need to worry about the reverse class disadvantage effect. It is a little concerning. I mean, one of the reasons why I don't make an effort to try to convert everyone into Holy Class, those that could, is simply because LLR Farrakha is going to be coming out, and she can definitely do a lot of shenanigans, like swap her Demon class with a Holy Class and then use that Holy Class against it. But Lightbringer is definitely kind of the counter against a lot of the Sword Soul type effects, because she has her stacks that she can just let soak all those hits for her. So I may try to use her more. But like I said, like Zion did have Attack Blessing when I did get wrecked by him, but I did proc my armor. I did have Phalanxes. It was against Cavalry, though it had flying troops. But even then, I still just kind of got wrecked. So I have to be more aware of certain combinations that will just kind of kill me. And obviously one of the big ones is Celica. Celica is just really hard to deal with. I tend to prioritize banning SPTRS more, just simply because she can reduce fixed damage and she could put up that shield. And once that shield is up, I'm not going to be sniping anyone anytime soon. So, I don't know. Like I said, there's just some adjustments I definitely need to make as far as like what I prioritize on ban pick, which is always the most difficult part. Like, a lot of these matches just kind of get decided in ban pick, which is a little unfortunate. I mean, it's just kind of the name of the game. In any case, maps, that was the new map, right? That was, yeah, Solitary Circle. I finally have a win on that. So go us. Floating Secret, I think I had that today as well. Obviously I lost. Also, I'm pretty sure it counts one of these as a loss from the one where I just gave up on band pick, but it is what it is. Anyway, enough rambling for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll keep tweaking the box as I go along. And yeah, I'm The Depressed Hero. This is Langrisser Mobile Apex Season 21. I'll see you guys later.